Welcome to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. Stare Down greatness. We are officially 36 days away from NFL Week 1. 25 days away from college football Week 0, which it's that time, man. I mean, we've been in August now for officially 4 days, which is, you know what that means. If we're in August, we got college football at the end of the month, which, tell you what, I'm really excited about. But we aren't here to talk college football today, just yet. We're here to talk some NFL. We got the NFC North breakdown today to start, so I'll be breaking down the Lions and the Packers, kind of going over some of my favorite futures, some new additions to the team, going over their schedule, and then just kind of my outlook for the team heading into the season, kind of my projection for the team so far. But before we get into that, there is some NFL news I want to talk about, so that's probably where I will start this episode off because some guys have signed some deals, and yet again, because it is the NFL offseason, or excuse me, NFL training camp season, we got some injuries to talk about, which is pretty unfortunate for some of these teams, but like I said, there is some positive news at least to talk about as well, so we're going to start off with that. Chris Olave signed a 4-year deal that's worth up to a max of $132 million. I believe it's 90 guaranteed. There's another contract, I believe that's 108 guaranteed, but awesome deal for him. Shout out to Chris Olave because at one point, I mean, I've even talked about on this show, first off, he's the same age I am, which is insane to think about. And second off, it's like his NFL career is almost over because of all the concussions and everything that he suffered. So it's just awesome to see that, hey, he's able to make it to not only get a big deal, but he got life-changing money. And like I said, if he's able to stay healthy, he was pretty dominant last year. And him and Tyson can be a nasty tandem to have together. Derrick Henry is not considering retirement ahead of his 11th season, which is awesome to hear because he's still looking pretty dominant. He's one of those few, because there's usually always a running back drop off where at some point you just are too old and they just aren't as good as they were when they were younger. But for Derrick Henry, it's like, he's a freak, man. What is it going to happen to him? Because it just seems like I said, dude's just a freak of nature, so it just seems like that he's just going to be able to do it forever. I mean, at some point he's got to not have a great season, but if he plays like he did last season, it's not going to be this season. Deebo Samuel ended up returning to the 49ers on a 1-year deal, which just makes the most sense. It feels like it's a deal worth up to $7 million, and it works out perfectly for them because Ricky Pearsall kind of got announced that he's having surgery at his knee, so he's going to be out for the full season. So they came out and said this move didn't happen because of the Pearsall injury. It just happened to be convenient timing for them. That like, hey, it sucks to lose a guy, but at least we bring back Deebo who kind of know what to do and. That's a nice weapon for them, but Mike Evans is dealing with injuries. I mean, they just lost the guy from Indiana, Kamara. He just tore his ACL, so he's going to be done for the year. I mean, it's just started training camp, and they're already dealing with injuries. So, I mean, you got to think, like, hey, at this point, just move your practice field, even if the substation isn't a real thing. Like, at this point, it's like, something's going on over there, so you got to change something. Maybe just get up out of the area. I don't know, but it's just crazy how they always end up with injuries every offseason. Tony Romo ended up getting put on leave by CBS until further notice, which is massive because J.J. Watt now is going to be in the number 1 booth with Jim Nantz. I will say, him and Eagle, they were an awesome combo together, so it's going to suck that him and Ion Eagle won't be together anymore, but pretty awesome move for JJ, and he's a pretty good announcer, so that's a big win for CBS, but so I mean, like, it sucks for the Tony Romo situation, but it's still a big win for CBS because JJ Watt's probably going to kill the role. But makes you wonder too for Tony Romo now. It's like, is he going to come back to announcing, or is he going to have to sit out for a little bit until he can come back? Green Bay, and by a little bit, I mean like maybe a year or two. Apparently Tucker Kraft is coming around. He came off the physically unable to perform list, so him being off the PUP now is huge, which means that's one step even closer for him to be able to play in week 1, which has basically been his goal. Now, will he be on a snap count? Potentially, but getting him back would be an awesome move for the Packers. I mean, he was, fantasy-wise, he was looking like he was going to be the number 1 tight end in fantasy. Playing-wise, I mean, he looked like he was going to dominate and have one of the best seasons a tight end has had through his first couple weeks that he's playing, and then he ends up getting injured, which really sucks for them, but that's awesome that he's going to be able to come back here soon because he is a massive piece for them. There's now talks for the Chiefs to host the Final Four and the Super Bowl now to be in a dome stadium, so expect that to happen, especially when it's done. The NFL loves putting Super Bowls in new stadiums. Travis Hunter is looking good in his return, and it sounds like he's pretty much going to have packages on offense, but he's going to primarily be playing cornerback this year. So that'll be a fun little thing to watch to see, like, how much of an offensive package is it? Is it like 10 to 15 play? Or is it like not even 10 to 15? What is it, like 10 to 12 plays a game, or is it actually like 20 some plays where it's like, oh, he's actually a piece on offense and he's playing all the defensive snaps? You would think it's probably going to be the former, where it's going to be like 10 to maybe 15 plays max where they throw him on offense, but for the most part, it's going to be mainly on defense. Cam Scottaboo came out and said he's probably not doing backflips anymore off the field, which you got to think somebody talked to him about that, which of course they did. Probably had to be done, to be honest. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be joining the Georgia Tech coaching staff at wide receiver, so that probably makes you think a little bit that he is probably not coming back to play football this season. There's still obviously the off chance, but if he is joining the college football staff to get into some coaching, you would think that he is probably... McVay came out and said the potential for Donald returning is trending upwards. Aaron Donald's probably coming back this season. I think we should all genuinely start to get in the mindset of like, okay, so he is most likely coming back this season because... I mean, it's been rumored, keeps getting rumored, and now. Then the Falcons have signed their guard, Matthew, 4-year, $96 million deal, which comes a couple days. This came like 1 or 2 days before the Bijan Robinson deal, which I'll talk about here in a minute, because I can't. It's buried in my notes somewhere. I wrote it down, the deal, but it's not next to this, of course, which that probably would have been a little bit more convenient, but oopsies. There's still a quarterback competition going on in Cleveland. At this point, it seems like Shador's might start, but at the same time, it is the Cleveland Browns. They are paying Deshaun Watson $240 million, but I think starting Deshaun Watson probably would not be the best for the team. You would think a lot more of the team is rallying behind Shador than Deshaun Watson. That's just from outside looking in. I could be totally wrong, but that's just my assumption. TJGJ for the Bills has a calf strain, so he's going to be... It was not in contact as well, so it sounds like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, especially for calf strain. You don't want to mess with that and have it become an Achilles injury. So, yeah, good chance he's probably going to be out for at least the start of the season, but hopefully he's going to be able to make it back earlier rather than later. Brian Brzee for the Saints. He did have a torn ACL. We talked about that last week. He's officially going to have surgery on it, so that puts him out for the season. Jadeveon Clowney is reuniting with the Texans, which means that defensive front is going to be absolutely nasty and insane. And also because Bijan Robinson signed a deal, going back to that real quick, Jahmyr Gibbs. He is the next one that should be up for a deal, and potentially after that, look for Jonathan Taylor to be the other name. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. Those are two next names to watch for getting paid at running back. Bear safety Kobe Bryant's going to be out 8 to 10 weeks because he hyperextended his knee. Has a bone bruise and a small fracture, which sucks because, yeah, he's obviously going to miss the start of the season for sure. So probably look for him to return like week 8, week 9 at, I wouldn't say like at minimum, but he's probably at least going to be out till week 6. You would think if it takes him 2 months in September, October, probably going to miss at least the first quarter, if not the first half of the season, which really sucks for the Bears, who have the hardest schedule in the NFL. So far, there's no real talk on Bryce Young as he enters year 4 of his deal. It's probably a pretty big year for Bryce Young, you would have to think. If he doesn't play the best, good chance the Panthers probably move on, because at a certain point, it's like, obviously Dave Canales came there to help with Bryce Young, and it was a great head coaching opportunity for him, but Bryce Young doesn't figure it out. It's his job or the head coach's job, and you got to think at certain points, like, head coach is going to look out for himself, which you really can't blame him for, because, I mean, Bryce Young's had moments, but there's just, I don't know. Like, you can see it in there where he has the play to be a really good quarterback, but it's just not fully panned out. Maybe he's one of those guys who needs to change the scenery, potentially. A.J. Brown's dealing with a dislocated thumb. That sucks as a wide receiver, but hopefully that's something that should be able to get figured out, you would think. I mean, if not, I hope that basically it's just one of the things. Hopefully it doesn't linger with him for the whole season, or that would be rough. Mike Evans, another guy who's missing with the 49ers, strain quad. Forgot to mention that when I was talking about the 49ers. But yeah, their injury situation is just absolutely insane. I will not lie. It's getting to a point where it's just like, I mean, they're literally to start training camp too. Like, they've only been in training camp for like not even a week, and they already have a lot of guys who are going to be missing time in that wide receiver room and in some other positions. Garfinkel for the Dolphins, he's stepping down president and CEO after 13 years, which I think a lot of Dolphin fans are. I don't know. I will admit, I haven't seen too much yet on the Dolphins fan base on how they feel. I would think personally, like, you would want to say maybe that's good just because their team's been so meh for as long as they have been, but honestly, at the same time, I just don't know, man. It's a whole new tenure anyway for the Dolphins right now, so I'm sure there's a lot of focus on that. But now they have to look for a new president and CEO. On top of this being the first year for a new head coach, GM, quarterback. I mean, whole basically damn near a new team as they're trying to rebuild down there. And this goes on with the Travis Hunter note I brought up a little bit earlier. Cohen came out and he said that Hunter Schwab, wide receiver last year, was a little too much, which goes back to the limiting him, and they're probably going to make him a package player, which isn't horrible at all. But and he basically just came out and been like, yeah, and like it makes sense. Everybody's saying like he just had too much information to be like, hey, you got to know the whole offense, and you got to know all your defensive playbooks. Now they're just like, hey, you got to know these two positions on these key plays, and I'm assuming as he gets more informed in the NFL and as his brain grows, he will maybe get to be on both sides a little bit more highly, but it's starting to look like he's probably going to be a package player. Like maybe this year, like, hey, now I'll play a wide receiver more this year, and he'll be more of a DB this year. That might be a thing they look into, but past that, you got to think that he's going to start playing majority one side of the ball now. Especially after injury. You don't want to overwork the guy too much. And some unfortunate news for the Jets. Sadiq Bey has a setback in his recovery from his hernia surgery. So he's going to be out for a little bit, which maybe he might make it back for the start of the season, but he's a rookie who needs to learn the offense. So he's probably going to be, and even slower coming into the offense now, which sucks for them because he is a freak athletically. So, well, I mean, he was not too bad at Oregon, but I don't know what to fully expect from him in the NFL. But the fact that it's already going to be at a slower start now, not good for him. The Atlanta Falcons and Bijan Robinson. It was a 3-year deal worth $75 million, $25 a year. I think all of it's $51 million guaranteed. Excuse me. But I thought I saw it was $25 million a year, so I guess that number I potentially saw might be wrong then. But $51 million guaranteed. It's ending his camp hold in. He's going to now come back fully to training camp. A 3-year, $75 million. Look for that kind of deal potentially now for Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of deals they sign now, because now that they got his done, they're the two up next. Carson Beck's going to start the Hall of Fame game for the Cardinals, and then the final thing to talk about, the Ravens are signing Zay Flowers, 4-year, $140 million extension. I'll admit, kind of insane to see that number. I did not expect it to be that big. It's $108 million guaranteed. It ties him with Justin Jefferson for 4th annual average at $35 million a year. I will say, Lamar Jackson has come out and said he's a lot more underrated than people say, which your quarterback would know more than the average public person, but I would genuinely shocked to see that number be that big, because I mean, he's a good player, don't get me wrong at all, but $140 million is just like, whoa. I thought he was going to get like maybe max out at $100 million. I did not think he was going to get like top 5 wide receiver money, which goes to show you how much they value him regardless. So it's like, hey, shout out to Zay Flowers, because stats, like I said, stats may not show it, but that team really values him very clearly, which that will not lead into our breakdowns, which we will talk about the NFC North, which last year, if you were a Bears fan, great year for you. The Bears dominated I don't want to say dominated the NFC North, but they played really well, finished with 11-6, Packers were 9-7, 9-8 for the Vikings, 9-8 for the Lions, which, man, for the Vikings, you still just got to sit there and think about, it's like, they let Sam Darnold go, and he won a Super Bowl the very next year. But even with it being a dominant year for the Bears, like, and even with that stuff I said with the Vikings, I mean, 9-8 wasn't horrible. Lions finished last in the division, which wasn't the totally best year for them. So we will be talking about, like I said, the Lions and Packers today. We'll start off with the 9-8 Lions, who I'm sorry, Packers were 9-7-1. I forgot about that tie. Disgusting, man. Absolutely disgusting. But offensively, Drew Petzinger is now going to be in and be the new offensive coordinator. They kept Kelvin Shepard as their defensive coordinator, and head coach is obviously still Dan Campbell. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the offense changes and does this year. Some new, excuse me, not new, old people left. Taylor Decker left. Alex Anzalone left. David Montgomery left. Which the David Montgomery one, that was more of a mutual one where it's like, hey, we know you should get more carries, and we're gonna try. We want to feature Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more, so we're just gonna kind of let you go off into the wind. So those are some like kind of, I would say, 3 pretty big losses for them overall, which not ideal, but obviously has to happen for it's the NFL. You got to change over some stuff, and they went 9-8 last year, so obviously some change has to happen. So some people they brought in: Devin White, Isaiah Pacheco, Greg Dortch, DJ Wanham. Teddy Bridgewater is returning as the backup, which is Roger McCreary and Rocky Sin they brought in as cornerbacks, which they're going to need because their defensive back room has really gotten shaken up. I think they have 2 guys. Brian Branch is dealing with an injury. There's another guy who's dealing with an injury. I can't think of his name. And then Terry Arnano, obviously they had his situation, which still insane that happened. So there's all that they're kind of dealing with. So the big thing for the Lions this year is their secondary is kind of looking a bit sketchy to start out. So heading into the start of the year for them, the first game of the season is home versus the Saints, and they go on the road for the Bills, back home for the Jets, away for the Panthers, then Cardinals. Week 6 bye, then they head home for Green Bay and Minnesota, back on the road for Miami. I think it's a overseas game against New England potentially, and then back home for Tampa Bay, back home for the Bears, away for the Falcons, home for Tennessee, away for Minnesota, home for the Giants, then 2 away games against the Bears and the Packers. I do think this is a team where they 9-8, 10-7 is probably where the floor is again this year. You got to think with Dan Campbell there now, they are going to win games. Jared Goff is a really good quarterback. I'll admit though, that like I said, that secondary situation is really kind of starting to concern me a little bit now because they can't get those guys back from injury, or I mean, it is. That is the part of their team where you can kind of get them. Their over-under's at 10.5, so I mean, 11-6 is kind of the projection for them, which, to be fair, they do have a last place schedule, so you did see, like, reading through that. I mean, realistically, they should be able to beat the Saints. There's a win. They can beat the Jets. I mean, they should be 4-1 after the first 5 weeks, realistically. Saints, Bills, Jets, Panthers, Arizona. That should be a 4-1 start for the Lions. If not, I mean, obviously it's the NFL. They could lose a game to the Panthers or Cardinals on the road. If they lost to the Saints at home, that would be a really tough start to the season for them. I mean, realistically, they could even beat the Bills. Honestly, it's doable. So that should be a pretty decent start for Detroit. And then so let's see, 4-1 to start. They can beat Miami. Definitely can beat splitting their division. So I mean, that's 5, 6, 7, 8 wins right there. They can beat Tennessee. There's 9. Falcons are definitely beatable. There's 10. I mean, 10.5. If I had to pick, I genuinely think. I mean, I do not mind the number at all. I don't think I'll be purposely betting it, but I guess I'll give like. Do I want to give it out? I guess I kind of will, but at least for the show, I will be picking the over. Like I said, it's minus 115. Don't hate it too bad at all. Not for sure if I want to fully take it or not, but I do think they should be in store for a relatively good season as long as they can keep everyone healthy and figure out the situation at defensive back. Jahmyr Gibbs to record 200 plus rushing yards a game is plus 350. Odds are kind of poop on that because I do think there is a really good chance that he would. So I'm going to personally stay away from that. I do like that bet, but I wish the odds were a lot better. Plus 350 feels a little low. If that was like plus 400, 500, I mean, not even 400, honestly. That's plus like 500, 600. I'd probably consider it a little bit more, but that just feels a little bit too low, I'm not going to lie. So Jared Goff, they have him projected for throw for 4,100 passing yards at plus 100. Over 30 passing touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs is 1,200 rushing yards with 13 rushing touchdowns. Jameson Williams is over 900 passing yards. Amon-Ra is over 900 receiving yards. 1,250 for Amon-Ra, and then Amon-Ra over under for touchdowns 9.5. Not gonna lie to you, I mean their offense is gonna have to score a lot of points because that defense. It does look like it might be a little little tough per se, but for Jared Goff, I mean, he is thrown for 4,500 or over 4,100 every year he's been in Detroit except for his first year. So that is probably one. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if anyone I was looking at was the Amon Ra one, I won't lie, but I wanted to see his. I forgot to look at this before I got on. Won't lie, so I'm kind of stalling, so I can look it up now. His past 3 years, he's had over 10 receiving touchdowns. He's had 10, 12, and 11 the last 3 years. I don't mind that number at all, but I think I might just take the Jared Goff passing yard one. But I do know they want to feature Jahmyr Gibbs a lot more and run the ball this year. And I think it's just because it's plus money. But the thing is, they really do want to run the ball a lot more this year, so it makes me a little bit nervous. But at the same time, if their DBs are going to be a little bit sketchy this year, they're going to have to score a lot more points. So there's a good chance they might need him to throw a bit more. So yeah, I think if I had to pick, I'm probably going to take the Goff passing yards one, even though it makes me a little bit nervous. And the Amon Ra one, I'll probably lean off of, but I do genuinely really like that. I'm trying to not take as many futures. We're trying to take at most like 2 or 3 per team, so I'm going to lay off that one. I like it, but don't love it, I guess, is the way to put it. For the Lions to win the Super Bowl, it's 19-1. Conference is plus 930, right? Yeah. Man, I couldn't see that for a minute. I'm like, wait, what? It looks like an 8. But it's plus 930 for them to win conference. For them to win division, they are plus 170, which I definitely think is doable. They'd be one of my favorites to win the division, to be honest. But I will say I'm probably going to stay away from betting this division because I think realistically three teams can win it. I mean, maybe even the Vikings, honestly, if Kyler Murray can pan out and be really good for them. So they might even have 4 teams that could win it. So I might be staying away for their division wins. Over 3.5 division wins plus 125. Under 3.5 is minus 155. Definitely could see the split in the division happening. To make the playoffs, minus 220. Their wins after the first 5 games. 4 wins is plus 160. 5 wins is plus 500. 3 wins is plus 170. So I personally think 4 wins is definitely doable. So if I was going to pick one, I would pick 4 wins. I think the one game that makes me a little bit nervous is the Panthers on the road. I guess does make me a tad bit nervous because it is a road game. But it'd be the Saints and Saints and Panthers because I do think if they're going to lose a game, it's probably going to be the Bills. But if they beat the Bills, it makes me feel better because it's like, okay, they can screw up with one of these last 2 road games. But overall, I guess the Panthers are trying to be a playoff team too, and they are kind of pretty decent. But Cardinal and the Saints are the same way, but Lions should be beating these teams with how talented they are and where they're kind of at in their process. But it's the NFL, so they definitely can definitely get got. There's still 36 days to go, too, so anything can happen. Like I said, they need to get some damn DBs, too. So overall, my kind of final thoughts for the Lions, I do think kind of like 11 and 12, they could probably get to 12 wins if they really beat some of these better teams on their schedule. But overall, I do think that they probably should at least win 9 games. Probably are going to win 10 to 11 games because they got a 4th place schedule, so they play some of these pretty nice teams when it comes to like being. It's the NFL, so you kind of get it. Obviously, some of these teams are a little bit worse off than others, and the Lions get a benefit and get to play a couple of these bottom feeder teams that are struggling to find themselves a little bit. And hey, like I said, if the Lions can figure out the DB situation, they'll be a super good team. That is the one part of their team where I'm just kind of like, okay, what's going to happen there? And I'm also really excited to see how Jahmyr Gibbs does in basically a backfield where it's like, hey, we brought Isaiah Pacheco in to spill you, but this is your backfield. So I am very excited to see how he does with that because dude is super talented. And yeah, I'm just excited to see how that goes. So overall, my bets for it are the Lions are over 10.5 wins at minus 115. We'll take Jared Goff over 4,100 passing yards at plus money, plus 100. And then I think I kind of like Amon Ra over 9.5 receiving touchdowns, but we're going to stay away from that. So that now officially takes us to the Green Bay Packers, which that is a team who is having a little bit of change. Their GM is gone. Their defensive coordinator is gone. Hafley is now the head coach of the Dolphins. Their GM obviously, like I said, moved on. So Jonathan Gannon's the big guy they're bringing in now, defensive coordinator to replace Hafley. He left from the Cardinals, which, yeah. that situation just did not go well for either side, to be honest. But it is the Cardinals, so. Quay Walker, Elton Jenkins, and like I said, Jeff Hafley were some big names. They lost Malik Willis went to the Dolphins as well. Romeo Dobbs went to the Patriots. They lost Nate Hobbs, Emmanuel Wilson, and Dontavian Wick. So they lost a decent amount of some of their bigger key role players who have been around there for a little bit. And Tyler Taylor now is going to be the new backup for them. They brought in Sky Moore. Javon Hargrave was another big name they brought in. And I think basically what they said wide receiver wise was Matthew Golden and Christian Watson are going to be like the main two. And obviously then Jaden Reed is going to come in and be the wide receiver 3, or I believe is how it's going. Because I think if they go 2 set, it should be Golden and... I mean, Reed might come out there sometimes, but it should... And assuming Watson's healthy for all these games as well, but it should be Watson and Golden as the 1 and 2 for the Packers, which... Not bad at all. And they honestly should let Jordan Love throw it a little bit more. It feels like there are times where it's just like... Hey, we can throw the ball a little bit, but their schedule goes as the following. They... 2 away games start against Minnesota and the Jets, and they're back home versus Atlanta. Away for Tampa Bay, home versus the Bears and Dallas. Then they go back on the road for Detroit, home versus the Panthers. Away for New England, home versus the Vikings. Away for the Rams, away for New Orleans. Back home for Buffalo, home for Miami. Away for the Bears. Yeah, I about said away for the Chicagos. Away for the Bears, home for Houston, home for the Lions. So that's kind of a nice little end of the schedule. They get 4 out of their last 5 games are all at home because of how many away games they have to start. That should be that could get a nice little bit of momentum heading into the playoffs. They're able to get like a nice little stretch at home and carry the momentum into the playoffs. But as for their win total over under, their win total is set at over under 9.5 minus 130. And I can kind of see their schedule is a bit tougher than the Lions, but overall, I think I would genuinely lean towards her over a little bit. So yeah, yet another one of those. I think for the Lions one, I think I like them to get to 11 wins a little bit more, but man, I won't lie to you. Even though I gave it out, that's one. It's like I like it, but it's definitely not my favorite bet that I have. But I think the Packers are good enough to be a 10-7 team. I mean, another one of those like it, don't love it, but I do think I like it enough to give it out. Their schedule, like I said, is a little bit harder, but they are a good enough team to get the job done. That is just a tough stretch of Bears, Texans, Lions to end the season. I mean, oof. Then you got the Rams and Bills sprinkled in there with the Saints and Miami, so it's like they'll probably need to get a lot of their wins earlier because that stretch into the season. I mean, there's a chance to go 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 3. I mean, 3-4, maybe 4-3. Like that could be a kind of tough stretch in the season, or maybe if they're on fire, they're going to be able to just absolutely take off with it. But either way, a little scary. Jordan Love to have over 3,500 passing yards, or 3,550 plus 100, or 24.5 passing touchdowns minus 105. Christian Watson over 775 receiving yards plus 105. I'm just going to stay away from the player props in this team because Packers are a team that like to spread the ball around, especially to the wide receivers. Can't trust Christian Watson to fully stay healthy. Although if he does stay healthy, I will say that over is really, really, really low. If he stays healthy. But I don't want to put my money on it. I have a lot of other futures I want to take, so I'm probably just gonna stay away from it. That's a one though. Like if he stays healthy, I love it, but I just don't know if I can fully trust him to stay healthy. But like I said, they like to pass the ball around a good amount, and with his situation, Matthew Golden, it's big here for him to step up. I didn't see a number for him, but if I found one, if it was decent, it's just still like, I don't know if I want to take it fully. What if he's just not good enough and they have to play Jaden Reed over him? And then there's the whole Josh Jacobs situation. Like, is he going to play? Is he going to not? They're still trying to kind of figure that out. So overall, I think it's just like, hey, I'm good on that. We're just going to stay away from that. Super Bowl wise, they are plus 180 to win. Conference championship winner plus 900. Division winner, they're plus 225. Make the playoffs are minus 150. I do think this is probably a playoff team. So that is not horrible odds at all. That might be one I just give out so I can give out at least like 2 bets with this team because I really don't have a lot. Won't lie to you. Division wins, they're over 3.5. It's plus money as well. So, I mean, one of these teams probably is going to, in this division, is probably going to win over 3.5. But I couldn't tell you. They were really, really competitive last year. Seems like this division might be leaning towards that way again. For the first 5 games, Vikings, Jets, Falcons, Tampa Bay Bears. 3-2 is probably realistic. So plus 175 for 3 wins. 4 wins is plus 190. And then basically, I'm assuming they think they're either going to beat the Bucks or the Bears. Then, or excuse me, they might beat the Bucks or the Vikings, and then their only loss is to maybe the Bears. I can see it. 3 or 4 wins isn't bad at all. If I had to pick, I'd probably take 3, but 4 isn't bad either. We'll say, not the best head situation, but might be one I consider taking personally. But I'm going to give out 3 wins because I think they'll probably be 3-2 in that stretch. I could potentially see them losing to the Bears and maybe to the Vikings first game of the year if Kyler just goes absolutely insane. But I mean, it's going to be 4-1 to 3-2. That's kind of my projection. So I'm just going to go with 3-2 and just kind of go on the, hey, maybe they'll lose another game. But like I said, I don't mind either one of those. But that's kind of where I'm at. Overall, I think it's going to be a playoff team, 10-7, 11-6. I think they'll have a semi-similar record to the Lions, but maybe one less win than the Lions. This is going to be a really good team. And the biggest thing is, I'm kind of forgot to even mention with them, if they got Micah Parsons, who probably is going to be coming back for that Dallas game in week 6 or 7, I believe, whatever it is. And Tucker Kraft, if he's back and healthy, he's going to be a stud again, potentially. If they can get this Josh Jacobs situation figured out, that's just another great weapon they bring back. So it's coming together for this team to where it's like, hey, they should be a really good football team this year. It's just going to be a matter of when these guys get back healthy, can they return to form? And can the Packers just do it? I mean, they have the team. They have the squad. What are they going to get out of these wide receivers? And can they just get over the hump that they've kind of been stuck at for a bit? So overall, my official future for the NFC North Part 1, Packers over 9.5 wins, minus 130. Them to make the playoffs, minus 150. And then 3 wins in their first 5 weeks, plus 170. 4 wins is plus 190 if you want to hedge it. I mean, either way, you won't make the most money, but you'll at least make a little bit on it. But yeah, I'm personally going to take 3 wins. 4 wins wouldn't shock me, though. And then for the Lions, we're going to take over 10.5 wins, minus 115. Then Jared Goff to have 4,100 passing yards at plus 100. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support. Really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed on Thursday to go over the second half of the NFC North. And then we got the final division to break down next week with the AFC North. And then we'll be talking college football futures probably. I'll probably sprinkle in a little bit next week. I'm slowly starting to get all them finally locked in and officially placed. I'm also trying to finish some of these NFL ones placing because, yeah, the season's approaching, and now all of a sudden it's crazy. Like back in the summer, it's like, man, I can't find too much I like. Now the season's here, and I don't have all the money in place on all this right now. It's like, all right, now I'm finding all these ones I like, and it's like, now I actually got to start cutting a couple. So, man, can't wait for the season to start. 36 days away, 25 for college. I'll see everyone back in this feed, like I said, on Thursday to finish breaking down the NFC North.